Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics, and Thames Water is in the news again as the Labour government makes clear that the days of taking the mickey are over. But as the failed water company doesn't seem to be able to manage without taking the public for a ride, the Environment Secretary Steve Reid has indicated that he's stepping up preparations for nationalisation. But first, for daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel to stay notified. So Thames Water's creditors say they've worked out a plan to sort the company out, but they will need leniency from the government when it comes to fines and penalties. The government's response, were it to be given through the medium of mime, would appear to be a vertical middle finger. I mean, let's just consider what this means. So, let's look at fines in particular. Fines are given for what? Breaking the law. They're a punishment for illegal activities, criminal activities. You don't get fined for lawful activities unless there's been a miscarriage of justice. So in asking for leniency against fines, what Thames Water's creditors are saying is they intend to run the company in a way which will break the law. And to add further context, so Thames Water were recently fined a record £123 million for offences. But according to the report in The Guardian, the creditors expect over £1 billion worth of fines if the new rules, which Labour have implemented, are now enforcing, are applied. So let me just translate what the creditors seem to be saying here. First, think about how bad Thames Water have been. They've been fined 123 million for their, remember, criminal behaviour. But what the creditors are saying is this: we need immunity from prosecution because we intend to break environmental law so badly that being prosecuted would mean fines of over £1 billion, over 8 times as much as this record fine. I mean, on your bike. What the hell sort of argument is that? We want immunity from prosecution because we're going to break the law like you've never seen before. Now, of course, that's not actually their argument, I suspect. I'm sure their actual argument is they cannot get Thames Water's finances in order by complying with the law. But as I've said before, if you can't run a business legally, you can't run that business. I mean, imagine an assassination business up in court trying to argue, well, Look, Your Honour, it's just not possible to run this business legally, so the judge should let them off. That would be a ridiculous defence. Yet this is the defence Thames Water creditors are attempting. And remember, it's an argument that would have worked on the Tories, and in fact did work on the Tories for years. Give the current government credit where it's due. Labour have changed the law. They've forced water companies to come up with plans for reducing pollution, blocking bonuses for executives who don't meet their obligations, and they're not making unfair special exemptions just because one particular water company is so bad that it cannot run the business legally. However, if the creditors insist that the company is just in too big a mess to sort out if they have to obey the law, and the government are insisting that, you do have to obey the law or accept the punishments, then the only way to deal with the situation in the short term is nationalisation. Someone has to run it. And if the private sector won't run it, the government has to. So Reid has said he's stepping up preparations for a temporary nationalisation. So then you think, okay, why not a permanent nationalisation? Well, it may indeed become that in time. But just to remind you of some of the issues, first, the process of fully nationalising is more onerous than just temporary custodianship. There's a lot of legislation involved. Second, Reid's department can't afford it. Remember, Thames Water, like all other water companies, have got a job of investing in infrastructure to do. After decades of essentially just trousering the money, whoever is running the company needs to pay the money for those reservoirs and so on, the new facilities. And when I say paying, what I mean is borrowing, because no one's got the money to do it, and then paying the loan back. But the government has already borrowed pretty much as it dare before Liz Truss territory starts to raise its head. And as I've said before, the best solution may be a not-for-profit like Welsh Water, because that means there's no profit screwing customers over or causing executives to prioritise profits over service, because there is no profit, so they just have to make sure they meet budgets. But it also means the company can then borrow for the investment without blowing a hole in the national finances, because it has nothing to do with government financing. So they just borrow normally. The government has already suffered 2 ministerial resignations over cuts, the second one coming last night over the disability payments cuts. The government just doesn't have the capacity to really cut anymore. So I can see the benefit of getting the infrastructure upgrades financed outside government expenditure, and the non-profit route is the way to do that. Long-term nationalisation is a more viable option later on, when we're on top of investment, have funds left over. But worth noting that Labour are taking no nonsense here. The era of piss taking from water companies is over. Until the Tories or Reform get back in charge, of course. We're still going to have to pay for the damage they've done because nobody else is going to, but at least we can get on top of it now. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more content, you could subscribe to the channel or join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.